from where I'm standing, I don't know if I'm being nostalgic, if I watch too many black and white movies. I see men refusing to grow up. Like, there's very little incentive for men to grow up explicitly. Like, they can't see it. They can't see that committing to things like fatherhood, family, sacrifice, there's actually a payoff that is not something I can explain to you in material terms. Whereas it's far easier for me to tell you, forget the kids, you can have as much sex as you like, you can have no commitment, you can get drunk every night, you can do coke every night, don't worry about it. Like, you can have pleasure for the rest of your life, kids and wife, and that it's a very hard sell to sell, no bro, you have to finish work, go home, maybe cook, or tell the kids, like, really speak to your kids, and then tuck them in bed, and then you have to, wake up. You still want to work out, you have to wake up at 5 in the morning. And then by 6, you have to be back home to take your kids to school, because, your kids need to know their father, and there's certain things that you need to get. Like, that's such a hard sell when compared to just, like, sex every day with different women, right? And so what most people are choosing, what most men are choosing, is that even if they don't get sex every day, in their mind they're going to get sex every day, they choose to just do the adolescent thing, right? And never commit. Now, there's also another phenomenon that is embedded in that, which is something that, I don't know if you know the African-American economist called Thomas Sowell, Sowell. Let me try and show you a picture of him, maybe that guy, quite a famous face. Well, he talks about kind of the crisis of fatherlessness in America. And what happened was, I think it was sometimes in the late 50s, when the social services in America became really developed. So what happened was, women were saying the phrase, I don't need you anymore, because the government will pay. Like, what you're providing, I don't need it. The government will send me a check. So what happened was that exponentially, more men were hearing, I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you. On the other side, on the flip side of that, is everything else we've been talking about, all the other adolescent incentives. And men were just leaving. And the consequence of that was more and more kids, especially boys, were getting into drugs, getting into violence, winding up in prison, flunking out of school. So you see a direct correlation, so direct, I would hazard to say it's a causation, of absent fathers and children just becoming derelict and delinquent, right? So why is all this happening now, right? Why is it that now men are far less likely to take up the mantle of manhood?
We are living in this strange time when we have a lot of opportunity for self-transformation or self-indulgence. So self-indulgence, and you know what is this? It's when we indulge on our weakness, and we sort of have a lot of, we're trying to find a lot of reasons why shouldn't I grow up.
Yeah.
So because of the government, because of this, these politicians. So every time when you blame someone, you are losing your power.
Yeah.
So, and then in the end, you do not have the power to do.
Right.
So if you are dependent on something, or because of the drug, or because you know who was my father, he was a drinking one, I didn't have a father, so poor me, miskin. Yeah. So it's or mother, or I don't have enough qualities, or my mother never gave me love enough, etc. So every time when we blame someone, when we put the sort of someone in the empowering position that I dependent from this person, we are losing our energy. So we need to be careful by blaming someone, the teacher in the school, or the government, the politicians, etc. So because like this, we're losing the power. So the more responsibility we take when we said, okay, I have this childhood, why my children should have a similar childhood? So I have to show them the opposite. Yeah. So I have a son. So somebody cannot have a son. As you know, the level of infertility is growing up.
Yeah.
So women have to start to do the artificial inseminations because they want the children. But some people, it's easy to produce children, and they just neglected them. Why? Not enough maturity, because they sort of develop this indulgent attitude with life. So it's, what can I do? Yes, people think, you know, this habitual and Maltese expression,
Yeah.
exactly. So what can I do? Who am I? And this question is very harmful. If you're asking from early childhood, the child, who are you to tell me that? Like you humiliating a child, you depleting the power. Children have to be seeing but not heard. So you deplete the power. Of course, discipline and education and the structure of the mind is important in a friendly atmosphere. Of course, the structure has to be there. However, without this not noble way, because it's still a human being, just dependent on you. Why should you abuse?
Of course.
This child. Yeah. So children are in a situation when they have no money, they have no home. Yeah. They are homeless. Yeah. So we sort of, they are our children. Of course, they are under our roof, but then sort of when they're 15 only, so some parents saying, oh, you are under my roof, so you have to follow me, without any trying to speak properly before you put your direction. Because I said, so you have to develop this authority of yourself before, so the child will know that the child will rely on this particular father. And so I found that is the way to infantilization of yourself, to not to take the responsibility, to blame the others, to blame the external forces. And so instead to go deeper and to choose this, because still when you speak with the adult man and you're talking about deep question, how was your hero? Who was your hero when you've been small? So they do not understand that it's a question of you now. Yeah. So they say, oh, you know, it was this particular person, so I put his photograph on my wall, so he was my hero. And so I was very proud to follow. And then what have happened? Then, you know what, life took over. So how life will take over? Choice. It's a question of a free choice.
Mela, tlaqna?